an official acknowledgement that interstate travel is happening. So when you have those kind of things, you ask, what is the point of placing the ban if it cannot be enforced, or if it will not be enforced? Let us not deceive ourselves. If we are going to keep everything open, let us keep everything open and prepare like Sweden to face the consequences. End of story.
Thank you very much for that balanced and detailed analysis, Cheta. It might seem to a lot of people that, saying the government is, putting plans on one hand, and it's a bit difficult for the people, the citizens, to understand. Yesterday, people raised questions as to why the president did not address Nigerians. Did you think that was necessary? I mean, for the president to address Nigerians again?
See, I've made no bones about my views that President Buhari is very lazy. I don't see any reason why he shouldn't be addressing Nigerians regularly. Pretty much every other world leader is doing addressing his people regularly. We didn't vote him to sit in Aso Rock and take a holiday. We voted him for situations like this to lead. So lead is not by hiding away in Aso Rock and then opening the hatches every once in a while, poking your head out and looking at everybody, then going back into the hatches. No, leading is showing that you are aware of the situation and making sure that people are obeying your instructions. So, for example, Buhari gave an instruction on lockdown some 6 weeks ago,
Mm-hmm.
and pretty much the next day, people were contradicting the instruction. I mean, come on, that's not leading.
Radio Mouth from Calgary, he calls himself Radio Mouth. He says, good morning, guys. Jetta, can you please do a quick comparison between the coronavirus crisis and the global systemic subprime crisis of 2008? I'd like you to get your opinion. He has the same question yesterday to Reuters.
I mean, the subprime crisis was not a job destroyer the way the corona pandemic is. So, for example, a country like Nigeria did not really feel the effects of the subprime prime crisis because of our lack of exposure to the American mortgage market. It was countries who were heavily exposed to that really felt it. I mean, I lived through that. I was living in the UK at the time, but here the CBN governorship of Soludo actually did some interesting work in making sure that our exposure levels that we took advantage of our lack of exposure and did not quote unquote die as a result. So I don't know why he's asking for that comparison, but bottom line is that this has destroyed far more jobs and at a faster rate than anything that has been seen since the Great Depression of 1929.
Wow. Thank you. But what are your reactions regarding this day report on Ekiti threatening to shut down major markets? They said the government yesterday threatened to shut down the major markets in Ekiti Metropolis indefinitely if the traders failed to adhere strictly to the compulsory use of masks and sanitizers.
Um, I understand the frustration of the Ekiti government, but as is usual with Nigeria, we're running after the fluff and leaving the substance. I think that this thing from Ekiti brings us nicely to one of the real problems that we have in the Nigerian informal business environment, which is the poor structure of the business environment in our markets. So the questions that I'll ask: do those markets in Ekiti, do they have properly respected designated and respected walkways? Having walkways is the first step towards respecting social distancing. If you don't have those walkways, then you can forget anything called social distancing. Are the stalls in the market well spaced from one another in case of a fire outbreak? This is not about corona now, but about a fire outbreak. But if the stalls were properly spaced from one another to prevent a fire outbreak, then we'll have a situation where when corona comes, something like corona, people can actually distance themselves properly. Do the utilities within the market, such as running water, proper toilets, do they work? Do they exist?
Mm.
If they don't work or if they don't exist, much less work, then what are you talking about in respect of maintaining hygiene? So you see, you need to be able to do all of these things as a first basis to be able to maintain proper social distancing, to be able to maintain to limit the kind of places that the coronavirus can hang out in. And you see, these are the kind of questions we should be asking as a people. If we take a stroll through memory lane, not our own memorial, as in British memory as an example, you'll find that the standards that they adhere to right now were set during times of disasters. So, for example, spacing in markets in London, the convention was set as far back as 1665 because of the Great Fire of London. The current distancing of buildings, I mean, you in the UK, there's a minimum distance. It keeps the actual distance keeps my mind now. But there's a minimum distance between two buildings. Why? Because of the fires that spread around London during the German bombardment in World War II. Right? They had a Health Act in 1947. As a result of that, to minimize the damage that something happening in one building will cause to another. So this is a case of people learning from disasters. Going back to that UK, the Grenfell Tower thing that happened a few years ago. Remember that the Grenfell, imagine a building as high as that, as tall as that in Lagos Island catching fire. That fire will spread. But the Grenfell fire thing was contained within the Grenfell Tower because of the distance between it and other buildings close by. And even that Grenfell Tower incident caused a parliamentary inquiry that has come out with a new raft of regulations for such buildings to prevent another disaster. And that is something we need to adopt as a people. A never again mentality. And not just a never again mentality, but a never again mentality with the will to enforce whatever we come out with. Because I mean, as our so-called interstate travel ban shows, we may have all the good sounds in noises, but we tend not to enforce.
Thank you for making that a clear example of the Grenfell Tower, and then the regulations that were put back in is as far back as 1600s, to also affect UK of today. Let's bring it back to Nigeria. I'm asking you this question based on the practices and policies we're putting in place now. Um, Normally, there would be an adjustment, or rather, there would be policies that will reflect maybe lessons that we've learned from past experiences and reflecting on the times. What would you say is markedly different from the administration now and the administration as far back as 1911 when Nigeria had the influenza case experienced globally? Couldn't we have learned lessons then?
We learned lessons.
So why are we now
learned
adopting it
lessons
now?
from the now this will be a subject of an entire history lesson.
Right.
So we learned lessons from the 1918-1919 Spanish influenza, and those lessons culminated in the Quarantine Act of 1926. Having said that, the institutional memory of a country is your civil service. So it is them who passed on these lessons over and over and over. Problem is that Nigeria's civil service was interrupted in 1975, and since then we've lost our way. The single biggest disaster that hit this country was the 1975 mass retirement of civil servants by the Murtala Mohammed regime. We've never recovered from that, and so I'm talking of something that happened before you were born, before I was born. Nigeria has never recovered from it. It's the single biggest disaster to have hit this country.
Thank you, Chesa. Let's move on to talk about other things. Some other issues that are on my mind, regarding the social distancing. I like that you mentioned it in analyzing the Ekiti State story, especially relating to the markets. If you look at our supermarkets these days, we all go to the malls and the shops. Should the state government consider looking at methods or the way people shop and change the module? Because apparently, if you walk into any shop, you have people feel like the sanitizers are like magic substances that after rubbing it on your hand, you can never be contaminated for a few hours during the time you're shopping. But that is not the case to a large extent. Although scientific, research, whatever work will prove that it reduces the risk factors. But shouldn't we change that in the sense that if you're allowing everybody to get into the shop, albeit they've used sanitizers or whatnot, if they get into the shop, they are allowed to pick the items themselves. Through this, physical touch of items, do you think it's effective? It's an effective way of still, carrying on life?
Well, when you use the sanitizers at the entrance to the shop, and I'm not a medical expert, so I can't say exactly how long, but there's actually a time lapse between when the active ingredients in the sanitizers, the alcohol, and I assume that will prevent you from carrying the virus. So if we assume that everybody was faithful in using the sanitizer before entering the shop, that there is a limited possibility that items within the shop will have the virus hanging out on them.
Thank you, Cheta. Messages on WhatsApp. Shay from Oniro State says interstate ban. Absolutely a joke. Even public buses are not 60% loading capacity. We're not really here. And please add your names to your messages so we can take them. Ifan Equalita from Iba says it's very important that the PMB, that President addresses Nigerians. We want him to tell us more on the economy. We need him to provide the much needed panacea required, especially in this period of COVID-19. Many jobs have been lost and still many on the line.
He
On
doesn't
a,
have it. He doesn't have it.
on a lighter note, he said, I was elated to see. Okay, thank you for that side note. Kingdom says, just I agree with you completely. There are no structures in Nigeria to support long or social distancing. Emeka says, I'm a town planner, Cheta. When you insist on stats, the developer goes round your back to get the structure approved.
Which brings me back to what I was saying. I mean, you have the regulations, but we don't have the will and force. I mean, that's one of Nigeria's biggest problems. So when you see the government bringing out new laws or social media or the NCDC Act, all these and that, this already exists in one form or the other. The problem is enforcement. And you see, when you have so many laws, they are not enforced, and then you are bringing out new ones. What you are doing is creating room for arbitrary enforcement, which creates room for corruption.
I see that. Thank you. Let's touch on this story, Chata, from Premium Times. The federal education, one in each of the 6 geopolitical zones in Nigeria. Currently, we have about 152 colleges of education in Nigeria. What does that seem boring for you, Chata?
It is. It's boring. It's the same rinse and repeats. I was about to say what that's not safe for breakfast. Breakfast radio. It's the same rinse and repeats that we keep doing. I mean, your education system is collapsing. You don't need the output of your education. I saw a tweet by a lecturer. The English construction was so bad. I think that was all over the place. Spelling what I was horrified. A few weeks ago there was a video I was ashamed of that video because the person was a professor of mathematics in my alma mater, and he was trying to talk about exponential curves and all of that, and he just could not explain it. Most people were laughing at his English. I don't the English, I don't look too much at that one. I was listening to, because I mean, I did engineering, so I have a mathematics background, and in my day job now I do statistics. So I was listening to what he was saying, and this guy clearly did not even understand the concepts of geometric progression or exponential progression. And this is what he's teaching students
as a lecturer in a tertiary institution.
In a first generation university teaching mathematics. He didn't get those concepts, and this is what he's teaching in next generation. So opening new schools doesn't solve any problem, rather it creates more. And then, so this is aside from the fact that the education system is collapsing, the government is bankrupt. We know they. Yes, we are opening more, announcing 6 new colleges. What a sensible government should be doing at this point in time is collapsing what already exists, closing those that are not worth it. So, for example, there is no reason to have a federal, in short, a college of education in a bush that, given our security situation, is not secure. So, close that, divest from some others, let somebody else come and, because at least in the university sector, the private universities are doing well. So, divest from some, let private individuals come and manage them, and then concentrate on, since we want to be politically correct, concentrate on one in each of the 6 geopolitical zones and make sure that they are model colleges of education that everybody will aspire to enter, and that those private institutions will aspire to be like. And you will see a difference.
What's the rush? Is it to accommodate the lack of provisions for education, or what's the rush?
Rush of what?
To set up more colleges of education.
When you see them out.
Okay. The CBN, the Central Bank of Nigeria, the federal government said that the Central Bank of Nigeria, the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, they both agreed to shoulder the cost of accommodating and feeding evacuees during their 14-day compulsory quarantine. When I saw the news, was it Friday? I think it was Thursday or Friday, when we saw the letter, yes, from the embassy.
That was the embassy in India.
In India, exactly. So asking Nigerians to food their bills.
So the thing is, the embassy is in the UK or the US did not send such a letter, as far as I know. So that's, I think first things first, we should praise both the CBN and the NNPC for this is a good work of corporate social responsibility, and they've done well in that respect. But it delays an underlying problem. Why India? why not US? Or why our embassy in India? Why not the embassy in US or UK? And to my mind, to my cynical mind, Nigerians who are resident in Asian countries tend to be of a specific group sector. They are more informal. And because informal people tends to be people who have a lower media presence. They are not people who can what they call it. They are not people who people can shout for, or who people shout on behalf of. So it was nice that somebody saw this. I think why people shouted was that there was the understanding that if the embassy from India got away with this, then other embassies would follow.
Yes.
So so at least for once, Nigerians stood together, and somebody is as a result of that, somebody is trying to do something. So that's the main positive in the story. People made noise, somebody heard the noise and stepped in. But the real issue is the Nigerian state doesn't view all of its citizens with the same value. That's the real issue. So you will find that there are some people that the Nigerian state will look at and say, oh no, we can't do this to them. We can't try this with this person. While there are some other people that the Nigerian state will say, no, this one's
But why is this so? Like, what's the disparity? What are those major factors that make
the ability to make noise, or the ability to hurt the Nigerian state at some level. Think about it. The people who the Nigerian state tends to treat with respect are violent men, the men's, the Boko Harams, while the people who try to be reasonable with the Nigerian states get run roughshod over. So this is, for me, from my point of view, this is something systemic that we need to work on. If you don't treat all your citizens with equity and fairness, you will find more people going towards that rough side of life.
Thank you. Tony from Ikeja says he's not a regular fan of yours, but he wants to thank you.
Not everybody can be
but he wants to thank you for what you said on the damage done to the civil service by the vice purge done by Muhtar Mohammed. So the civil service destroyed by IMM has never recovered ever since. I'm very young too, because I was in primary school then. Thank you. Gideon from Abulegba said, it's really a pity that our security personnel are failing us. Please, they should be called to order. Thanks. Edgar says, good morning, Val and Cheta. From Ikorodu. Edgar from Ikorodu. He says, Nigeria is plagued by the curse of
Sisyphus. Yeah. Apparently, Edgar is a fan of Greek mythology. No, that Sisyphus story is two very interesting stories. Sisyphus and Tantalus are saying, men. Anyway.
You want to make reference to that for a second?
Yeah, the story of Tantalus, that's where the word tantalize comes from. Saying the gods, he followed one god to drag woman. So, I mean, how can he be that silly? So his punishment was that they put him in a cage where something he really wanted was just out of his reach. And for forever, every time he tries to reach out, it will just go beyond his reach. So tantalize. That's what they did. So Sisyphus' own story is that he was caused to be going round and round in circles forever, trying to get something. But, yeah.
Thank you for that analogy. And Edgar says, okay, thank you, Edgar, for that analogy as well. Patrick says, good morning, freshly pressed crew. I can't help admiring Chada's repertoire of historical facts and cajole. Thank you for the big words this morning, Patrick. And he said, can Chada come every day?
If you pay, I'll come.
David says, the rush to open the federal colleges may be stemming from the fact that Jonathan set up a bunch of universities during his tenure. APC has nothing to show for in this regard. That's your comments. Thank you, David. Ifeanyi from IBAS says, God bless you, Chata, for pointing out that so many lecturers do not do enough research, especially in communication. You'd be shocked to the core the gaps made by some of them. He also adds it's very important. Okay, he had sent that earlier. Tyre from Aja says, instead of the federal government to channel these funds into healthcare, we are compounding the issues of the education sector. It's like the vision of the government has glaucoma with it. And Adele says our education outputs are mainly from business, law, arts, management, educational and environmental sciences, and social sciences. It is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics STEM that advances the nation. Our output is not relevant
Can I
to
agree
our
with that a
developmental
little?
deep needs. Yes, please.
Yeah. I think we fall into the trap of thinking that only STEM advances a nation.
Mm.
For example, law is very important, and I would even argue that law is probably the most important because law gives you the structure
Yes.
for which every other thing works. Law is the building block. Then business management. It's clear that Nigeria is. I mean, look at the budget that the government released the other day. It's clear that Nigeria lacks business managers because we're still doing the same thing over and over and over again.
Mm.
So we need to. There's no course that is unimportant. I mean, look at the average prime minister of the UK. Check what they studied in school: the classics, history.
Mm.
So there's no course that is unimportant. We need to let go of that mentality. Instead, what we should do is we should find it. I mean, there was something I was passionate about growing up. My parents never, as in my parents did not let me near that course. I'm not going to make the same mistake with my kids. What you are passionate about, because that's when you can bring out the best output.
Mm.
When you have a passion for something.
I was even having a conversation yesterday with somebody who we were arguing about the need for what do you call it now? I'm looking for the right word, but you know how the results system that's set up in universities.
Well, we don't. The thing is, we're not a result-oriented people. If we were result-oriented, Nigeria would be a very different place.
Interesting. Thank you, Jota. Let's next one. Let's look at the VAT, value added tax. Now, the Nigeria Bureau, National Bureau of Statistics says 338.94 billion naira was generated as value added tax in the first quarter of 2020. Jota, please analyze this for us and let us know, from what sectors this accrued from.
Well, they said that it's 338.9 billion was generated in Q1, and that this is more than what was generated in Q4 of 2019 and Q1 of 2019. Basically, NBS reports tend to compare with the previous quarter and then the same quarter the year before. Which is a fairly good standard to use. My problem is this: we always release these results in naira, and it may pain many Nigerians to hear this, but the naira is a virtual currency. I would prefer to, for example, whenever they keep shouting about this is the highest budget ever, this, I always say no. Convert it to the US dollar, which is a stable currency, at the prevailing exchange rates to get the actual value, because it's about value. So, as an example, when they shared FAC allocations in March, people were saying, "Oh, this FAC allocation has increased. This." But no, it didn't increase. What really happened was that the value of the naira as opposed to the dollar dropped. So the naira suddenly seemed more. That is why suddenly you may have more naira in your pocket, and instead it cannot buy you as much because we don't produce that much here, which means that we still have to buy stuff with foreign exchange at some level. So looking at these figures that the NBS released and comparing with the prevailing exchange rates at the time of the report being released, the 338.94 billion from Q1 2020 translates to $788 million. The 308.48 billion from Q4 2019 translates to $856.9 million. Sorry, the other one is $788 million. While the Q1 2019, the 293 billion naira from then at the prevailing exchange rate at the time translated to $814 million. Essentially, what it means is that the Q1 2020 is actually less than the other two. Q4 2019 was more than Q1 2019, was Q1 2020. And we don't need to run around to try to do as if the fact that we generated less is a problem. Yes, it is a problem in some respects, but look at the global issue. Because of coronavirus, in real terms, the amounts generated has fallen, and there's been a decline of trade and productivity around the world that has hit everybody. There's no entrepreneur listening to this right now that hasn't seen his bottom line affected in some way.
Yes.
Everybody. So the real thing, instead of trying to beat our chest and saying, "Oh, we generated more," what we should be doing is looking at what can we do very quickly to bring the economy back on track when this thing is over. Because consider this: if you look at the details, the most amount of VAT was generated from professional services, consultancy. Now, for me, that's a problem. You should be generating more from industry.
That's
You
right.
should be generating more from, as in, from tangible productivity. But it is from consultants like myself that you generated more. If you overload a country with our kind of population with consultants, anyway, we don't even have the educational level to do that. So let's.
I was going to say that is what is exposed from this even analysis. Thank you very much, Chata. On that tax note, we'll draw this conversation to a close, but please let's continue on social media. It's Smooth 91 FM on Twitter. Mufasa from Isola is thanking you, Chata, and somebody's asking if you need a mentor. That's Sochi from Festac. All right, Chata is going to provide his details, but reach out to him on Twitter at Chixta, CHXTA. We're right here on Smooth 98.1. Next, we swerve into entertainment gist inside of the Grapevine 91.
Providus Bank, future forward banking.
Baba,
So I'll sit and wait until you're off the.
The headline.